everyone. Welcome back to There's a Workshop for That. I'm Nathy Ravez, your host, and today feels like a full circle moment. I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome back Jakob Knutzen, co-founder of Butter, the all-in-one virtual collaboration platform designed to make your online workshop as smooth as better. Jakob first joined me for a podcast episode back in January 2023, where we dove into the origin story of Butter and how its community became a thriving space for facilitators around the world. Since then, wow, a lot of things has happened. I've had the joy of being part of the journey, first as a member of the core community team, then by meeting the crew in Bali last summer during the Bata retreat. I even got to facilitate one of the activities there with Post-its, guys. And of course, I was also part of the launch of ButterScenes, a new interactive tool I now use regularly in my sessions, whether online with clients or also like for the Fit for Facilitation event. And now the big news. Butter has officially joined Miro. So I thought, what better time to invite Jakob back for a special retrospective. In this episode, we are looking back at the highs, the pivots, the community magic, and of course, what's next. Hi, how are you doing, Jakob?
Doing good. I'm so excited to be back, Nathy. I still remember the first episode. It's quite a while back now, but it was one of those special podcasts that were just magic. And again now, doing this together with you after we joined our retreat last year in Bali and facilitating the session there. That's just awesome. So thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Jakob, last time we spoke about Butter. It was still in its early rocket step phase, right? Now, looking back at the past few years, so it's been 3 years since then, what stands out to you most about the journey so far?
Such a good question. It's always hard to kind of look at those different moments and at which ones were the most special. So the first things that stand out was actual formation of Butter, right? I mean, the first year, the absolutely crazy year of 2020 when we started out, and when the product development just skyrocketed and like every week had a new feature out, every week had a new amazing insight about the direction that we were heading. And from building Butter in the early days it was a mobile app to its very first iteration for workshops that kind of lived on the side of Zoom, and we thought, okay, hey, that's what it's going to be like, and then thought, doesn't work when it's beside Zoom, so let's just build our own Zoom, and created it as a video conferencing app. And I look back at some of the features we launched, like breakout rooms was one of the first things that we made in Butter back in the day. The agenda that a lot of our users love to this day was also one of the first features we created. So like that first year was just absolute magic, absolute acceleration, every week being faster, bigger than the next. So I think there's something super special about that. From a product perspective, other big things that kind of stand out was when we built out the complexity of our product, and we suddenly had larger teams joining in with the workspaces that we launched. That was in 22, early 23 actually, when we started having like really big teams join in. That was also big from a product perspective. And then I think one last thing from a product perspective was when we thought, okay, no, let's try building, like, it's difficult to win some of the workshops that we want to win, the ones that have where users have to use other video conferencing tools. So let's build Butter Scenes, which we started doing in May of 2024. Well, soon it'll be a year ago, which is also crazy to think about. But we started conceptualizing it there and then launched it in November, which again was one of the most special events in November of last year.
You had, I think I can remember because I was part of it. So first I can remember with how much details and love and heart you prepared all this during the Bata retreat. It was one of the main topic of the retreat. And then I can remember the buzz. I mean, How many speakers did you have? Over 40, I think.
Yeah, over 40 exactly. There was something special. It was like that event, the Scene and Scenes event on November 7th. I think it was November 7th. Or was it 5th?
No, I think
I
it was
remember
7th.
it was 7th, right? Because we moved it because of the American the presidential election. It was supposed to be on the 5th, and we moved to the 7th. So that's why. But I think that day was like the culmination of everything we had learned in 4.5 years of building stuff for workshops and then dealing with facilitators, right? And the facilitators we had in that event were absolutely freaking epic. And it was one of those crazy, crazy days. And even like, again, it was a 24-hour workshop festival. And I remember Cheska from our team and Chris and we were physically together in Copenhagen for the event. And Cheska fell asleep at like 2 a.m., cuddled up versus the radiator in our office, and then went up again at 4 a.m. to, continue facilitating or co-hosting some of the workshops. It was insane. It was.
It's like all these guys who are starting something in their garage, very close to each other, a little family. So I have this feeling that you, the team of Butter, is very close to each other. I can really, literally imagine you in this room preparing the lunch.
Yeah. It was also the kind of that's again, you're asking like those special moments. I think I got some special people moments. The first of those was, I mean, we started during COVID, so a lot of us hadn't met for years, and we couldn't get together for years. Chris and I, my one co-founder and I, we of course we sat together in Copenhagen, and Cheska, who was one of the senior people that joined early on, we had. We'd worked together before, but Adam, our third co-founder, and Chris, for instance, they've never met, and I had theoretically met Adam, but I didn't remember him very well because it was a dark night in a bar in Kuala Lumpur back in 2016, 17, or something like that. So the first big moment there was Adam coming to Copenhagen and meeting Chris and myself and us spending time together there I think it was in 2022. That was absolutely incredible. That was so good. And then that was in 2022 in August when we got the full team together in Portugal. Like people flying in from Malaysia, from Indonesia. I mean, it was from Canada. That was so good, so incredible. And then the last one was Bali in 24.
Yeah, and it was a pleasure to see this team together. Very different people, different culture, different languages, but everyone with the same goal. And I think this is one of the things that I admire by looking you work together. It's really when you choose your team and you have the right people working with you, it changes the game, right? Because
it does. Like it changes the game for so many reasons. Like, of course, there's the right people. Like, if you get the right skills together, you can do a lot of stuff, and that's magical. But I think the other thing is just like you mentioned family, and it's like I've heard a lot of people say, no, like a startup shouldn't be like a family, and it's because it's more like a sports team, or like that's a better analogy because. And of course, you have to be because if you don't perform, like you get chucked out, and I mean that's not hopefully how it is in a family. But I still think there's something magical, like there's something so close and emotionally close about the people that we've worked with for so many years, and also because all of them are high performers. And if you're together with high performers and they're also lovely people, which they are, then like a special bond just is created and you end up like like every day ends up being magical or like somehow incredible because you're working together with people that you actually love, literally love, and that's a rarity and something I feel extremely privileged about having done.
And a lot of love you got also from other people, the facilitators out there. If I look at what you've built with the community, and Maria was very long the community manager, then Cheska, and all the presence of this community for example, by the launch of Scenes. I think this is also something that you have spread outside of your team, the love for this better vibe over the product. You know, you have created something absolutely amazing. And yeah, what is your feeling about this community?
The community was just instrumental for so many reasons in what we created. I think the funny thing was that we never really planned for it to happen. It just kind of happened, which I think is the best way of a community happening. It's not like, oh, today I want to build a community and like, okay, where do I start? That's not the way to do it, right? It's more like, and it started forming, I think, back in when we started Butter in the first half year to a year, when we contacted a lot of people and interviewed a lot of people around workshopping and facilitation. And then we started posting on LinkedIn a lot around workshopping and facilitation, and a lot of people started commenting on those posts and giving advice, and commenting on the features we launched and how they could be better. And we're like, okay, like that's great that everyone's commenting on LinkedIn, but let's get all of these people together in a better format, maybe. And that was also when Maria joined back in mid 21, I think it was. And we started pulling the whole community together, which you've also been such an instrumental part yourself in building out. Nathy, I've been just eternally grateful for that. But I feel so privileged that so many people joined the community and I have been active members and attending the events and everything.
Yeah, what I love about that at the very beginning is that you gave a platform for these people to try things out. So you created this space where people were allowed to try things out with the sandbox sessions, for example, or to learn from expert facilitators in the other format. And this is something that is not available everywhere. You have a lot of community, but in this community, you could exchange, you could try things out, you could learn from others. So, yeah.
And I think it was really interesting because when we were building out the community, we talked a lot about what kind of community we wanted to build. And the basic type of communities that a lot of startups build is a product-oriented community, i.e. a community that's kind of centered around optimizing the product, using the product correctly, and giving tips and tricks. And that was not the type of community we built with Butter. It was a community of practice focused on facilitation. And on getting facilitation, spreading facilitation as kind of the go-to everyday skill that everyone needed to learn based on our core belief. And that was, I still don't know whether to this day it was the best strategic decision from a product perspective. Like, I'm not saying it wasn't, but it's very hard to judge that when you're building a community. But what I do know is I think it created this space for facilitators to meet and learn from each other, which I'm really proud of having been part of creating.
So now it was this big news. Is now part at Miro. I read this as I came back from London. Yeah. What? So what was the journey here leading up to that decision, and how has the transition been for you and the team?
Yeah. So the journey leading up was mostly, we've always had a super close collaboration with Miro, and it started, I think, in the first year of Butter when we included the Miro integration in Butter, which was one of our most used integrations. And already back then, I remember receiving a LinkedIn DM from their CEO Andre saying, "Hey, that's a cool integration. Do you have time for a chat?" And I caught up with him, and we connected very well. Like, I don't know how much people know this, but workshops is one of the things that Andre personally cares a lot about. It's one of the things that made Miro really, very big. And like today, Miro is a big company with a lot of different opinions, a lot of different things going on in there. But Andre personally still cares a lot about workshops. And that was kind of why over the years we still stayed in touch, and we talked about the market and the developments and what we were experiencing and what they were experiencing. yeah, what kind of got like at one point those conversations just became pretty serious, and that's kind of what led us to where we're at today. One of the things that kind of got them very serious also was our launch of Butter Scenes, which was a direction that both of us kind of believed very much in. So yeah, that was kind of what got us there. I think like ever since like that's what kind of got the conversation started, and what kind of made the conversations real and got us in as part of Miro was the fact that I could feel there was a lot of alignment on worldview in terms of, hey, why are workshops important? Why is facilitation important as a skill? And how can we drive that forward within Miro? Why do I believe that we can have a bigger impact, and that I personally can have a bigger impact on workshops and facilitation within Miro than I could if we stayed independent as Butter? And and by the end of those conversations, I was convinced that that was the case. That my impact on workshops and facilitation could be significantly bigger by being part of a larger entity than they could if I was if we were a small team independently. So yeah.
Yeah, what I really love and admire about that again is that you're guided by your mission and not by the ego of I've created something, I want to stay on my own with my team. So you always have your
Yeah.
vision in the mind, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I've also had that ego before. We've had offers in the past to be very transparent, which I've said no to because of my ego. So I still have the
Okay.
ego. Don't.
Okay.
I'm sadly, it's a flaw of mine. But yeah.
Yeah. So, but now you have a common mission. It
Yes.
was aligned. Everything was aligned.
Yes.
And I guess you don't have all the answers that I would like the listeners to have. But what can you tell us how you are preparing the future together, even if you cannot at this point reveal everything?
Yeah, so as I was saying before, and just for the listeners also, like I'm now big of a company where I can't like reveal all product directions because they're not mine to reveal anymore. What I can say though is that us being acquired and us being part of Miro now, I have the official role as GM for workshop solutions, which also means that I'll be driving a lot everything but a lot, well, probably everything related to workshops within Miro. That's a big area. It's a lot of stuff. And something I'm extremely passionate about. So what I can reveal about that is simply that it's a focus. It's a big focus area for Miro, and they are dedicating the resources necessary to be successful within this area. And also for listeners that are like, oh, I want to share my perspectives on how Miro could be better with workshops, please like find me on LinkedIn. I know it's probably more towards the end of the episode, but do find me and write me, because I really want to listen. I want to hear and I want to understand how we can make sure that this becomes the best possible product for workshops. Because that's kind of what my mission was in becoming part of this of a larger company, and making sure that we can do something amazing with the resources that I now have available.
Cool. So if you want to reach out and help out to find out what you facilitators needs to design the best possible workshops on Miro, now you can reach out to Jakob. Jakob, your mailbox will be full of.
I'm sure.
Thank you so much for joining me again. Maybe this will be not the last time. Who knows? Maybe in 2 years from now, we will have another episode. It was a great pleasure to have you here.
It was wonderful being here, Nathy. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you, Jakob, and good luck and congratulations again. And see you then with Miro.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.